Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the System and Hussla Squad podcast. Today, JP, Tom and myself had an interesting chat. Firstly, we started talking about the last 4 weeks. We've been scammed twice. Our Instagram's been hacked. We've got it back. Some interesting stories come out of that. Tom talks about the match betting landscape at the moment, how much money is on offer. And we finish getting a little bit philosophical and sentimental. JP talks us through his Africa chat and I talk a bit about Canada. Hope you enjoy it. Cheers. Anyway, here we are. I don't know what episode we're at.
8.
Probably, is it episode 8?
Yes.
Welcome back to the System Hussla Squad podcast, everyone. It's been a little while since we last did our podcast. I think it was probably October, November.
Oh, we did the one with Max and Mason.
That's right. That was November though, wasn't it? Or December.
Right before you two fucked off.
Yeah. So we have been away for a little bit. JP's been in Africa. I've been in Canada and we've left the reins for Tom over the last couple of months. And he managed to keep everything afloat until JP and I got back and we got our Instagrams banned. So obviously we made it pretty vocal to the community that we had our Instagrams banned. Instagram's probably our major social media that we use to sort of get our content out there. And so it was pretty deflating to have our Instagram banned, but it also raised a lot of questions about the lack of capability of Meta, Facebook, Instagram. It was pretty sort of, I don't know, a bit eye-opening for me to see how poor they were when we basically came with them with a problem.
They weren't even poor. They were non-existent.
They basically were non-existent.
Yeah.
And it raised a lot of questions. It raised a lot of concerns. Obviously, there's a lot of people out there who use their Instagram and their social medias to basically stimulate their whole business and get leads, whatever it may be. You got your OnlyFans models. You got a lot of PTs. You got a lot of people selling products and everything. And basically, we discovered that Instagram can essentially just turn off your account at the flick of a button with no warning and no prior sort of violations. So it was something that we sort of woke up to on, I think it was the 20th of Jan or something like that. Both our accounts got banned and yeah, pretty sort of tough start to the year, but I don't know if we want to go into it. I think people might find it pretty interesting, sort of the process that we had to go through to get our Instagram back. We were, very lucky to get it back, but it was through a lot of probably, sleepless nights and a lot of stress to get it back.
Yeah, it was very unexpected, and I guess it woke us up a little bit, I think. Woke us up in a sense of like realizing that we were very much relying on one social media platform probably too much. And although we don't want to do that, Instagram has done a lot of good stuff for us. Like it's the way in which it's the easiest way to send voice recordings and get personal with the potential members or anyone asking questions. So to have that removed, it was like, fuck, now we're screwed basically. Our YouTube has only got 600 subscribers or whatever. TikTok's hit and miss. You lose that every 3 months if you don't post the right shit. And then what else is like Facebook page and stuff. So, cool. No, none of our members were affected because all our back end processes are through our website, and through Telegram, which is fine. But yeah, in terms of the new content we're putting out, we did lose all of our stuff in terms of the content as well. The DMs, thousands of DMs, and then we managed to get it back. I don't know if we want to explain what happened there, but long story short, shout out to Carl. He managed to get us onto a contact at Facebook Meta Pro, and they've literally been elite. Like we now have a personal, probably Meta contact, I'd say, which is funny story. We've now gone from a super diabolical situation, obviously a big first world problem, to now having a really, really strong contact now, which has made us even better. And it's funny how you flip around a month, diabolical situation from a business sense to now being even stronger as a company and as a product. Positive from a negative, huge. And it's enabled us to then focus and diversify what our plans are for 2023, I guess.
Yeah, I think there was definitely some learnings that I definitely took from it. I think when it first happened, when we woke up that morning of, obviously the Hussla Squad account got banned.
Yeah, 2 days earlier.
2 days earlier, and then the system account got banned. I woke up, it was 6 a.m. You had a message from you, and it was like, our account's gone as well, the system account's gone as well. I'm like, oh my God. And it was just panic, straight away, just panic. But I think it was something that, you realise, sort of running a little small business is things are not always going to go your way. It's as simple as that. So there was definitely sort of all right, let's just take a breath, breathe, and sort of, hear out the situation and figure out, what we're going to do next with that situation.
It was a good learning curve for us as well, not just from a business sense, but also, we're always sitting here talking about long-term and patience and discipline and setting things up. And I feel like especially the first couple of days, it was definitely like panic stations, like this is the worst thing ever, blah, 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 blah. And then, do we start a new one? Do we do this? Do we do that? And then we kind of got ourselves in a position where for a couple of weeks, because we were so unsure, we just fucking did nothing. And it sounds so stupid now because we think look back on it, we got it back, and then we're like, what the fuck did we do for 2 weeks? Had all these ideas and didn't do anything. And it's pretty unusual for us, especially being, when JP sometimes drives the ship. It's more so there's not really much thinking. It's just more acting and doing stuff, and then dealing with the consequences of whatever comes out the other side. I know that's how JP works most of the time. It's just do something and then we'll adapt to whatever happens. And then this came up and we were fucking stunned mullets. We didn't do anything for 2 weeks. We were trying to do things, but
we were planning in the background, but nothing actually came of it. I would like to think that we didn't do nothing because we haven't seen the results of the planning or the ideas yet, as they haven't come out. We've set up potentially those programs where we're trying to do social media planners. We've tried to hire some more people on board, getting probably 2 to 3 people on the back end from a sense of social media management, videography and editing, which has been a fucking process, which we'll talk about in a sec. But yeah, when we lost it, it was very deflating, and I lost a lot of motivation. You go to make a video, or you want to make something, you want to reply to a comment, and it's well, fuck, where am I posting this? On TikTok only? And it's just can't be fucked. Go do something else. Go play chess or go do some other crap.
But you did kind of touch on it, there was a lot of negatives, but also since then we have there's been so many positives that have come from it. A couple that I can think of off the top of my head is we learned a fuck ton during that whole process. It's related / unrelated. We ended up getting scammed twice.
Yep.
I don't know how deep into that we want to go, but I was definitely the first victim of the scam. We lost $2,000 to this scam. So yeah, at the end of the day, we had somebody that showed a very keen interest in our social media and wanted to take it on board and to steer us in the right direction, and sold me the dream basically while Steve and JP were away. And obviously busy times, and started going through everything, and it sounded amazing. And these blokes were, JP was halfway up a mountain, Steve was 38 beers deep on another mountain, snowboarding down the side of it.
Taking out kids.
Sent off nailing little kids. Not
Two of
nailing.
Nailing their knees.
As
kneecapping
in taking them out on the hill, or on the mountain, slopes, whatever the fuck you call it. Jeez, that's going to be a horrid blooper.
Put that up.
But yeah, so I was in a very vulnerable state, running the 2 companies, and this guy got me.
So let's go into a little bit.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's go into a bit of detail. So we're looking for a social media manager, someone who can basically manage our social medias, as the name would suggest, and we were looking for someone with a bit of expertise, someone who had done it in the past, and we sent out a couple of adverts, and we got a really good resume. It was a very, very impressive resume. I remember you sent it to the group chat. It was a presentation. It was elite. I had a photo of the guy, and he had this 4-week plan about what he was going to do with us and where he was going to take us. And essentially, you were really the only one, Tom, that was talking to him throughout the process, because JP and I were away. And then we met up with him 4 weeks after we initially paid him. So we put him on a trial, $500 a week, and we met up with him. And I remember he walked in to this meeting, first time meeting JP and I. JP and I had hardly spoken to him. You'd spoken to him a lot on the phone. We'd never met him in person. And he walked in, he's just like, so what do you guys got for me? And that was basically what he said. Or I think you might have asked JP, you might have asked, how do we want to run this? And he was just like, depend. What have you guys got
just
for me?
Just run questions
by
me.
What do you mean? What have you got? What have we got for you? We've just paid you $2,000. What have you got for us? That was my initial first alarm with him. Anyway, then sort of, does anyone else want to continue about what happened?
Yeah, we sat through a 3.5 hours.
I'll talk about the first hour and a half. So we did whatever we did. We discussed shit. He had a lot of, theories about different things, but there was one thing he showed us on the Instagram function. It was about the arrows on the analytics, which is actually shares.
Yeah.
But he said it's how many DMs we got. And then I was like, well, hang on a second. You can't not know that if you're an expert of social media. Then we had a lunch break, and I was still okay. I was kind of going with it. I still wasn't skeptical of him just yet. I was kind of cautious. You were too I don't know if he was paying you extra for, for feedback to give to us or whatever, or he was paying you way more and then you were pocketing it and then not telling us or something.
Maybe.
But no, we got out of the thing.
Don't do the banking. You wouldn't have a clue.
Yeah, you did all the zeros.
I've been skimming
who knows?
For months.
No, but we went there, got some food. Me and Steve went together. You were still inside where we had the coffee, and then Steve's like, he said something like, I reckon this guy's full of shit or something. Or he said something like, oh, like, I'm not really sold on this guy. I think he's bullshit.
Yeah,
or
I wasn't
whatever.
sold.
And then when he said that, then I started thinking, and it like flicked a switch in my head, and I started seeing all this other shit after the break. We went away from the meeting, whatever. We said we'd follow him up and do something in the next couple of days, let him know where we're at, whether we'd go ahead with it. And then after like reviewing some stuff, doing some homework, getting the private investigator that we usually use to get a little bit of an audit of people, we came across some stuff, and we were just pretty much like, we realised he was probably pulling our legs a bit.
Yeah.
Well,
he came in with great ideas, and he was a great visionary, and he was a good bloke. Let's be real, like in terms of the way he came across and spoke and presented himself, and he was very easy to hang out with and talk with, very charismatic, that sort of thing. But then we started reviewing that 4-week plan that he said he was going to do. And we were all, so it was a bit of tension between the three of us. Obviously, Tommy, you were very pro for him. I was very against him. And JP, you were probably somewhat in the middle. So there was a bit of tension between us. But then we looked at this 4-week review, and he said that he was going to do this. He said he was going to do A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. And he'd done probably 5% of what he said he'd do.
Yeah,
and also had provided insight with inverted commas, on things that wasn't a complete analysis. So he said that he was going to do a full, thorough analysis of all our social media platforms and see how potential content varied or performed across each of the platforms. And he only looked at our Instagram, and we had a TikTok account that was booming, and some of our videos did very well on TikTok but didn't do well on Instagram. So he said, don't do those videos because they didn't do well on Instagram. But he's failed to forget, or he's forgotten.
We had YouTube too.
We had YouTube, and it's like, just because they didn't do well on Instagram doesn't mean there's not value in that content. So not only did he not do a thorough analysis, what he did provide was, technically, you can't really take it, for what it's worth, because it actually is doing well in other platforms.
Yeah, it wasn't a holistic approach to everything.
Correct,
You look at one platform, and obviously it paints a little picture, but you zoom out, you see everything, and you get the correct information. But also with the analytics, he was saying things like, like we asked him, how do you know? Like our question, he had this comment about the suit podcast we did, and he said, never wear suits again on the podcast. Obviously, we did it as a piss take. It wasn't to do anything special, but all of the reels from that podcast went really well. All the TikToks went really well, and then we actually got a lot of new subscribers around that time. Whether it's a coincidence, I'm not sure. But he just said, don't do it again. It's bad for the algorithm, or it didn't work, or bad for the image and stuff like that. Which I said to Tom straight up, I disagree with. Tom's kind of like, well, just listen to him. And I'm like, no, I want to actually understand. Like, I think I'm someone who probably over questions things, or like would rather someone explain something to me first and I see it happen, rather than me just take it for what it's worth at the start. So you can call me probably ultra critical before I believe something.
No, it's fine to challenge things.
And I think that's a good way to be, to a degree. But then we asked him, how did you do the analytics? And he's just kind of like, I just kind of know from looking at it. And we're just like, well, we're like, what are we paying for? Like, I could get my grandma to look at my social media, and if it said 200 likes on one person, 40 on another, you just assume the 200 likes is better. But that's the kind of analysis we were getting. It was very subjective. It wasn't specific. It wasn't presented in a way in which it was very like objectifiable. You couldn't look at anything and say, all right, we're going to increase that or decrease this. It was just kind of like throwing shit advice at us every left, right, and center, which we didn't pay for, I guess, at the end of the day. And
so then what? So we've decided that he's probably not going to continue on with us. We've realised that he's probably a bit of a shit talker. We gave him a chance. We said to him, we sent him a message after being back and forth, speaking to him for best part of 4 weeks, a lot of voice messages back and forth, a couple of calls. And then we said to him, look, Matt Butler, we're going to give you 2 weeks unpaid to do the work that you said you were going to do that we've paid for. We sent that off. We sent a massive analysis of all the work that he said he was going to do. And what did we get? What did we get in return? Crickets.
Legit crickets. I think he's blocked your number as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think he's a scammer. We called the company.
Well, I mean, after we followed up with... So one of the claims, I guess, now was like, he said that he worked for True Protein and built up there. He was the chief marketing officer at True Protein. And then, after not hearing back from him for a little while, I was like, that kind of just doesn't add up. Why would that? Like, why would he not respond? So then I contacted True Protein. And I sent them an email. I called them first and asked, can I speak to someone in the marketing department? And they said that they'd only respond to me via email. So I sent them an email. And as soon as my email went through, 8-10 minutes later, I got a call from them. Oh. And they were like, hi, is this Thomas that's inquiring about a Matthew Butler? And I was like, yeah. And she's like, how do you like, how have you found this guy's name? What kind of association? What's he told you about True Protein? And it was really like, she was really coy and kind of alarmed. And I was like, what the fuck is going on here? And then I was like, oh, he just, he said that he mentioned that he was chief marketing officer and grew your brand, and we just wanted to get a reference for him. And she's like, no, that's completely false. Like, he just didn't do that here at True Protein. So yeah, obviously after that, it was kind of like, well, what the fuck? So,
But he did have an association with True Protein.
Yeah, I don't know. They had some sort of deal, but he wasn't chief marketing officer. So for anybody else out there, if Matt Butler ever tells you anything about social media, please don't give him the time of day. Because he's $2,000 richer, thanks to me.
I reckon it's not even rich.
But
who knows?
Just be... But that was a good lesson for us to be mindful. And like, obviously, even in our... We did get kind of... we got scammed again to an extent, I guess, but we kind of knew what we were getting into the second time when we were in our dire straits trying to get our Instagram back, and we thought we'd potentially found a hacker that could get into the back end of Instagram. We could get into the back end of Instagram and get our accounts back, and what do we send him? A bit of Bitcoin that is definitely not coming back.
Steve's Bitcoin.
Yeah, my Bitcoin.
Don't fucking put that on the comment.
I got a text message from Steve being like, so how do I get my Bitcoins reimbursed?
No, to be fair, we knew, like, me and Steve sorted that, and we were just sitting there on the phone, like, we're just like, yeah, we're probably going to get scammed here. But like, the information they were coming back with us, it looked like semi-legit.
Hang on.
Access granted.
Oh, that's fucked. That one was...
Let's backtrack a bit, because people are going to be a little confused. We've jumped stories here. So we've gone back to our Instagram getting deleted and trying to get our Instagram back. We got in contact with someone, a model on Instagram who has had her Instagram account banned a couple of times, and she gave us a number to a hacker in Pakistan. And this hacker in Pakistan claimed that he could get accounts unbanned on Instagram. Now, he seemed very genuine. She swore by him. She'd used him a number of times, and it seemed like a pretty legitimate service. There was a lot of talk on forums on the internet of people who have done this, and hackers in Pakistan have contacts in Indonesia or the Philippines or whatever who are working in the back end of Meta and Facebook and Instagram, and they can essentially just turn on your account. So we were in contact with this hacker in Pakistan, but he was a bit slow motion. It was a bit poor on us. It was a bit poor on him. And at the end of the day, it just wasn't working. So I decided to take a crack with someone online who claimed to be a hacker who could get through to Instagram and unban accounts. And yeah, unfortunately, it was just another scam. So we got scammed twice in the space of about 3 weeks.
Yeah,
but learned plenty. And as I said, like, the things that we picked up, like, we've made I feel like we've through it all, we've helped back to the bench massively. I'm not sure if people that are listening to this know who they are, but our learnings where we were able to get their Instagram back for them and not teach them, we're not their fucking parents or whatever, but a lot of stuff that we learned, we were able to pass on to them. And I think that's helped them massively set up what they're doing going forward. And we've also made a really great connection with Anabolic Gabe, for anybody out there that knows. And he's going to be on our next podcast, which is going to be awesome. He was someone else that lost their Instagram. We weren't the only ones. It seems to be like an Instagram-wide problem at the moment. I've been reading articles on some of those, smaller news people about, like, photographers and stuff losing their whole business as soon as their Instagram goes down. So yeah, from some of the negatives, we've obviously been able to... We've got a couple of extra Instagram accounts now that we can fall back on. We've started to try some new processes and also made some really good connections that I think will be awesome. Not only, like, we were able to get Gabe's Instagram back, which he was super thankful for.
Within 3 hours. I'm sure he thought it was bullshit when we contacted him. And then literally within 3 hours of contacting our contact, it was bang. He's like,
and now we've got some, like, good back and forth. He was sharing some Instagram stuff with us, and he's really thankful. And it's nice to be able to connect with someone else in the space where obviously he has nothing to do with betting, but he's super massive about building up, especially younger males and helping them make their way through life, essentially. And it's nice to be able to do something. And I'm excited to get him in the room, or in the office, should I say. The next time we record a podcast, obviously, we'll be in the office. I don't know if we want to speak about that at all. Obviously, it's something pretty massive. That's a huge next step for both of our companies. Doesn't need to be touched on much, but obviously, we're moving into a brand new office in 6 days time, which is fucking exciting. And some new team members, like, who would have thought 2.5 years
it's very exciting. Like, obviously, it's March 2 now. We would have expected to be in by, I think, end of Jan, but we probably all knew it was going to get drawn out. Probably didn't expect this long, but being a new building and developer and architect and sorting couches and getting
More shit
measurements
we've
and
learnt.
desks and like it's all learning for us. And obviously it's been a little bit inefficient. We're trying to run these two companies via text message essentially. And the last few weeks we've been doing probably 3 meetings a week in person, full days. As much as it doesn't feel like it's productive, we're getting there. But yeah, the office is going to be next level. Like we're going to film so much more content from a sense of showing people what the fuck we do. Like at the end of the day, people probably think, oh yeah, just film a video and it just gets posted. Like talk about small business later and what goes on behind the scenes. I think that's quite interesting. People who are, like you were saying before, that there's like not much of a world. Like we're in a very small part of, like we're not fucking the best, but in terms of like, there's not many people that, most people just work for someone.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of people that, I don't know, live in this world for
yeah, I think it's definitely, I mean, for myself, I've only just gone,
you quit your job.
Fully quit my job basically at the end of last year. And already this year being fully reliant on your own business is a different level of stress that I'm already getting a little bit used to now. Yeah. I don't know, you've probably got a much better idea, both of you actually.
What kind of stress?
Just the stress of, oh shit. Like this is like it's a higher stakes. There's less to fall back on. Like if you haven't,
there's no coasting. There's no
coasting.
You don't
There's
roll
no
in,
wage
sitting
coming.
It's
like
at your
if-
desk all day. And
exactly right.
hope that something happens.
When I was at ANZ, if I didn't do anything all day, I didn't give a shit, and I did that a lot of the time, and I just didn't care. But here, it's like if you're wasting a couple of days, you waste a couple of weeks. Even when our Instagram was down, we touched on before, you waste those couple of weeks, and you're like, well, this is actually directly impacting, potentially your livelihood. So it's a different higher stake. Sort of higher reward. I think it's much more enjoyable and much more personally beneficial. But these are the sort of the little things that definitely are tricky, I guess, with running a small business.
Well, you're in full control of your destiny, essentially. Like if you don't work, you don't get paid, and if you don't, if you work hard, you can fucking achieve massive. And
no sick days here.
Yeah, I'd much rather live in a world where if I do really well and work really hard, I get rewarded for it, rather than cool, work for this guy. And I know people hate hearing this, but you work for your boss, you do an extra fucking 5 hours this week, you'll get paid for the 5 hours, but you're not going to get paid for the boss's revenue that generated him 5 times the income for the week or something. And that's kind of pretty harsh to say, but this is why we have chosen to do this. And we haven't just been gifted this life. Like we've taken risks, and you've taken the risk. We told you to quit your job for like a year and a half, and you finally pulled the trigger. Got out of your little contract you had with your company. Yeah. I don't know if you're allowed to talk about that. But,
actually, I'm definitely not.
I'm sure. Well, I can talk for you if you want. I can talk for you. You can
full NDA.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, we got what we need to do done, and now we're 3 of us who essentially are dedicating our lives to these businesses and trying to achieve shit together. There will probably be, I don't know if you talk about the merge, but we'll probably merge as 2 brands into one, just to make things a little bit easier for everyone involved, us and the audience. So
for the audience. So what would a merger look like for the audience? What's the benefit for them as to why we would be doing this?
So I guess now we're 2 different brands. We get a lot of questions. Hey, who are you? Are you the Hustle Squad? Are you the System? What's the difference? Where do I start? And essentially, we've got the videos out there that we've put together that explain it, but it's a very much a inefficient process to explain what the fuck's the difference, basically. But under the one banner, it would look like, okay, here is the brand and these are the products, and it's very clear where you should start based on who you are, how much experience, bankroll, what you want to get out of it, as opposed to seeing the Hustler Squad, the System, pop-ups, heaps of different shit, 2 Instagrams, 2 TikToks, whatever else. So 2 websites. So for the audience, you're going to see, we don't know what it's going to be called, how it's going to look, but we're definitely probably going to merge. And then also for us, not that many people probably want to talk about us, but us working towards the same goal, and everyone being, like, for example, you're not officially part of Hustler from a financial sense to this point, but getting everyone involved and enables you to be able to then, he said working for free if you didn't hear it, but no, like getting everyone on the same goal is going to help the business and the products and our results to what we want to achieve, which is changing the culture of gambling in Australia. That, at the end of the day, like, cool, we're making money from this and making other people money from this, but our core goal, I would say, I don't know, I want to speak to you boys, but the culture in Australia is what we want to change, and like that's a bigger goal. We want to change this whole space, not going to ruin the industry or sound like we're going to be like all this rah, but we definitely want to change people's mindsets and educate more people and save more people from losing money, I guess. And that's going to require 3 of us, and plus we're getting more. That we've got another guy on board, which we'll introduce maybe on the next couple of podcasts, and we're going to keep increasing our team. And the more people you get, the more manpower you get, the more influence you can have. So,
I guess one thing we can sort of go into, just sort of thinking off the top of my head, one thing you did touch on there is, merging the brand is going to allow us to get the content out there and really have as maximum impact as possible to changing that culture. And, there isn't a lot of people. We were speaking to someone the other day. We were buying a couch, JP and I, for the office, and we're speaking to a guy, and he's like, there's not many people that are sort of talking about what we're talking about. And I think it's probably pretty true. It sort of made me reflect on it a little bit. There really isn't a lot of people sort of trying to raise this awareness as much as sort of we are, which is really great. But it's going to take a lot more than that. It's going to take a lot more than just us. Obviously, we're a tiny drop in the industry that is continuously growing. But it has been interesting to see over the last sort of couple of months, there has been a lot more sort of parliamentary action coming into play. There was a parliamentary inquiry a couple of weeks ago as to basically the effects of online gaming and gambling. So not just gambling and not just the bookies and not just horse punting, but also the effects that gaming has as well. So like online games, there was some fascinating insights about how potential like games that are being made for like under 12s, under 14s and stuff like that, they're actually using the same sort of concepts that the bookies use to lure people in. So like you look at these games where it's like, whatever it is, like, what was that, Flappy Bird? Remember Flappy Bird? And it was just so easy to like purchase coins or something like that. They're using this concept of like basically gambling your money with no intention or no guarantee of getting anything. So this is the whole concept. It's like, if you want to, you can spend 30 cents or something, and you might be able to open a treasure chest on a game or something like that. And on that treasure chest, that might take you to the next level, but it also might give you nothing. So there's a gamble sort of mindset there. And this whole like parliamentary inquiry was focusing around that. It's like, are games actually starting to be tailored to make kids addicted to their phone, make kids addicted to these potential things, which is then being sort of, once they become 18, 19, are able to start gambling, it's just such an easy transition because it's something that they're so used to and looking, and is that sort of potentially something that's a problem? So this, obviously, I've gone off on a bit of a tangent here, but there is some stuff that's happening, by the government to potentially look at the impacts of gambling and raising that awareness. And there's a lot of people who are speaking out about it. There's one guy in particular who was on ABC. I've been in touch with Mark. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me referencing him. And he's a guy that's had a lot of problems with gambling, and he spoke at the parliamentary inquiry and tried to get them to see things from a gambler's point of view about how bad the industry is. So it's great to see that there are things happening in the background, but all these little chipping away at it like we are trying to do, and like Mark is, and I guess hopefully the government's keeping an eye on things. Hopefully we'll start to change a few things moving forward. Not too sure what that will look like, not too sure how much power the big
that's my question. Do you actually think the government wants the gambling culture to change? And for those out there wondering what I mean, obviously there's a lot of money made through gambling, through the government taxes, or through the taxes that corporate bookmakers pay. So do you actually think that, like, this sounds conspiracy theory, do you actually think these like high powers actually want it to change?
I don't think it's conspiracy theory. I just think it's like, is it a priority? Probably not. Like, exactly. And are there people in Parliament or in positions of power that probably hate the gambling culture? Sure. And they might want to genuinely make a change. Yeah. And you do see like, senators or people that like members of Parliament that are like, we should cap gambling, or we should have this. I think in Tasmania, they have some sort of $5,000 annual limit for pokies. And obviously that's been legislated by somebody there who believes that that's the right direction to go in. But I can't see it being on the list of, top priorities. And, you look at the gambling industry at the moment, and you look at the bookies that are popping up out of nowhere. And, I've never seen so many fucking bookies and bookmakers and whatever the fuck is going on. Like there's like 84 or something. I saw some guy post on Twitter. We can probably put the screenshot up here for those watching. There's like 84 new bookies, 6 more to come in. 3 more left the industry last month. Like it's outrageous what's going on. And if there was ever like a bloody royal commission into the gambling industry and how these people are getting licenses and yeah, I'd be fascinated to see what comes of it. But it is what it is, and that's why I guess, like, you know, it's easy to sit here and take pot shots or be like, you know, they should do this, they should do that. But the reality is what's happening right now allows us to do what we do. And to a small, like, the small part of me is kind of grateful that we have an ability to be able to, because a lot of people say in the comments, you know, people are still going to gamble, right? If we exist and get really big, people are still going to gamble, people are still going to bet, and that's true. And we're not here to fucking try and take down an industry like, oh, you know, if you guys fucking destroy gambling, all these people that look after horses and train horses, like, you know, hundreds of thousands of people are going to lose jobs. Like, that's not what we're interested in. Like, it's just more so like, if you're going to punt, have a fucking idea of what's going to happen to you if you punt. If you punt for 20 years, just have an idea of how much you're actually just going to lose. Like, you're just going to give it away. You're pissing it away.
Joking about it. Like, it's not funny.
And there's also, like, the other thing that I've noticed, especially while you guys are away, and the fourth person that we brought into our team that we're not discussing yet, like, it's been eye-opening working with him, understanding what's actually possible. Like, there is, like, and this is not to pump us up or anything, but you have to genuinely be a moron to not be making money in the landscape right now. The promos, the specials, the amount of accounts you can open up is fucked.
It's full fuck.
It's never, I made a video the other day. I'm convinced it's never ever been easier to make money match betting. It may not be as lucrative in a sense of how quickly you can make it, but there's never been more opportunities to make money, in my opinion. It's so easy.
I get angry / frustrated with people who say, like, it's really hard to make money these days in the space, or it's not worth it, or there's someone on my YouTube yesterday goes, oh, my mate did this and he got all his accounts banned, it's not worth it. It's like, it isn't worth it if you just get, like, if you're an idiot, in a sense of just going out there and doing dumb shit, signing up, withdrawing, getting stat decked. Someone messaged us last night.
But even
fucking, oh, can you help me? I'm using my mate's Bet365. I just got, like, I can't withdraw the money. Can you help?
But you can, like I want you to, like, whoever's editing this to clip this up. Yeah. You're 18. You can open up 80 betting accounts, get about $6,000 to $7,000 worth of bonus bets, learn how to turn the bonus bets into risk-free profit, make $4,000 and potentially never bet again if you want to go down that path. Now, we're not encouraging people to do that, but you can do all of that without gambling or risking a single cent.
Yeah.
That's how easy it is to make money. And people are going, oh, I'd rather put $10 on a multi to try and win $400 on a Friday night. You can make 10 times that without risking a cent.
Legit.
Just from doing the absolute fucking minimum and the absolute basics. So I don't understand how, if you had been given that choice at the start, when you're 18, bang, you can either do this and keep doing this without risking any money and keep making profit, or gamble. I don't know how people choose gamble over this and how that isn't enticing.
Yeah, and then also the people will be like to that, oh, but I've created all the accounts, what can I do now? Well, you just, if you're betting and you haven't been banned, which is the majority of mug punters, you're not going to get banned from fucking sports bet or whatever. The promos there are still exactly as valuable as they were when you started, if not better, because now your account's more like old and they don't look into you as much. And then secondly, if you have losing accounts, if you're full on addicted to gambling, then get off punting. We're not going to encourage you to come to match betting at all, because that's just not good. But if you want to change your mindset, and then you can go into that as well, your accounts are even more valuable. You had who called you the other day? Play Up or something?
Oh, yeah, fucking hell.
Old bag.
Still waiting. I'm still waiting for a text.
Old lady from Play Up called and offered Tom like a kind of a VIP, was it? Or I don't know what she was going to offer.
No, not VIP.
Not VIP,
they were just ringing.
The point is, right, there's 80 whatever bookies, and they're all fighting for your money.
Correct.
And if you know how to essentially make bidding wars against them and and share the load around, mate, like you said.
That's why I think it's never been more valuable. Like, yes, there were more lucrative promos. We've talked about, you know, making 30, 40K on the World Cup, and we've spoken about, you know, 24 up and first 2 goals. And yes, there've been more lucrative single promotions, 100%. But right now, the amount of access you have to making money doing things the right way is fucked. And it's just baffling that people would opt to punt over making guaranteed risk-free money every single weekend. Like, I just don't understand that. My mates still do it. It's frustrating. Like, it frustrates the fuck out of me. But yeah, it's still baffling.
Well, it goes back to what I spoke about when I went overseas, and the way people think, I think here and there comparison. I went to Africa, obviously different type of world, first world versus kind of third world, and just the difference in the way people think, what their priorities are, etc. I think a lot of people in Western culture are just kind of I don't even know if this is a word, but like robotized in the sense of they're just doing things without thinking. And things like just betting every week. Like do you actually think of what you're doing? Like, why are you placing the bet? Are you expecting to win? I know you can say it's fun, but step back and actually watch what you're doing and analyze it. Like, what are you actually trying to achieve from it? Because I hope you know you're not going to win long term.
Like the act of gambling, there is like a sense of fun.
Yeah, of
like
course.
Every now and then, of course. But like when you're doing it every single weekend,
like a robot. That's what I mean.
Over and over again. That is not fun, and you cannot sit there and justify that it's fun, or you're putting a multi on while you're watching the footy on the couch, but you're watching it with your missus and she's not punting and she's got no idea what's going on, and you're riding your multi like quietly on the couch or whatever the fuck you're doing. Like, that is not fun.
Yeah, and it's like you said, it is fun once off, twice, once a month, once a year, whatever, once 6 months. But I know if you're betting and it's $10 of your week, fine, keep doing it, whatever. And you're making $1,000 a week, you're spending $10 on gambling, go for it. But we're talking about the people who mindlessly just do it over and over again and are losing a quarter of their paycheck or half their paycheck. It's just ask yourself what you're actually doing, and I don't know, ask for help. We'll help you out. We'll help change your mindset. Go watch some of our more shit, and I don't know.
This is where like education, like, you know, the betting IQ of Australians is just in sip, and it's like, it's why it's frustrating seeing like kind of new people come into the space and make themselves look like potentially they're here to help punters, or, you know, to show you guys the ropes, and then at the end of the day they're just fucking associated with another bookie trying to get you to bet on their app to lose more fucking money.
Well, I think this is what the bookies just don't want people to improve. They don't want the betting IQ to increase.
Nah.
Like, that's something that would be the easiest change that could be made in the industry, is actually like somehow trying to educate the population of Australia.
Like what a bankroll is, or what a standard unit size is.
Or just that you're going to lose.
If you learn that,
even just like the fundamentals of how the industry is set up. Like, if you understood that Nathan Brown or Brendan Goddard is paid by Sportsbet to encourage you to bet more, like, if they're not making you bet more, they're not going to have a job.
Well, no, zoom out. What's the aim of Sportsbet?
Yeah, to make money.
Yeah. How?
Through losing punters.
The only way, right? They can't win otherwise.
Not through technically losing, but through increased turnover. The more money that moves through Sportsbet, the more money they'll make.
But ultimately, a lot of their profits would come from full-on people who are losing hundreds of thousands, right?
Of course.
Like, that's where they put the majority of their planning in. They get VIP managers onto those people, whatever. So that's the aim of Sportsbet. Sportsbet is a company which makes money from essentially heaps more betting turnover and ultimately losing punters overall, right?
Which is fine.
Cool.
Like, that's their business model.
So
that's
then
awesome.
Who's working for him or for them? And what are they doing? Why would they tell you to bet that way?
Yeah,
What's the aim of that company? To lose. So why would you listen to what they're telling you?
Correct.
So just think, like, this is why it's so frustrating when you get people like you rinse Campbell Brown. You didn't even rinse. You just sat there and asked him what he was doing, putting out those morals and shit that he puts out. He's doing a responsible gambling ad for fucking Ladbrokes. It's a bit of a piss take.
Definitely is a piss take.
Yeah, and then he's sending out tips for SEN trackside.
I don't know, you can't lose, absolute moral.
With no accountability. Yeah. And then we're getting like told to shut up because he's just trying to make some money. It's like, are you listening? Are you actually saying what you're saying?
It's amazing that they've somehow managed to get influencers
on
board.
The bad guys.
And but like, everyone defends the influencer. Like, if you see an influencer pop up on Instagram who's selling you some dodgy sunglasses you wear to a festival, or wearing some like shitty jumper that is clearly made out of poor quality that you know is going to disintegrate, you catch on to it, you're like, come on, mate. Like, you're a sellout. Like, why would you do that? But all of a sudden, all these guys are coming on, and everyone's like, nah, fuck off. They're just trying to make a living. Like, give them a break. Like, hang on.
But he is trying to earn a living. So what do you suggest he do otherwise?
I don't know.
Well, that's where we're at in the industry.
But like, everyone's doing it. So it's
it's not, they're not earning a living. It's just so lucrative.
Yeah.
They just get the carrot dangled in front of them, and they go and take it.
Well, to be fair,
it's not like Daisy Thomas had massive contracts at Collingwood and Carlton. The bloke's not like, if he didn't work again, he's not going to fucking be living on the street. But if PointsBet are like, hey mate, here's whatever XYZ dollars is,
chuck
it's
it in your
more
super
than
fund.
making a living. That's taking the piss.
Yeah, but to be fair, right, there's certain individuals I'd like to think that we can all identify that would be punting anyway. And I would say old mate Campbell would love a punt. And whether he's, I don't know, having a clue about his personal financial situation, but there's a lot of AFL players who, I'm not going to mention them, because I know a couple who have full on just blown their life on gambling.
Yeah, well, that's pretty public.
No, I'm talking about other ones that aren't public.
Yeah.
And like, these are the ones, like we say, oh yeah, cool, Daisy Thomas, for example, wouldn't have to work again because he played for Collingwood. I mean, we don't know that. Like, what if he's lost all his money? I'm not. That wouldn't be a fact because Daisy Thomas seems pretty switched on.
I understand that.
He works for commentators and whatever else. He has a good diversification with what he's doing. But you're seeing these individuals and the way that they carry themselves, you can identify that I think they'd be punting anyway. Like, he's sitting there riding horses. He's not just doing it because he fucking gets paid.
But you punting on your own versus you getting paid to encourage others to punt and lose.
It's double whammy. It's even worse.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, like, you're encouraging your own bad behaviours and then probably knowingly know the result of what's going to happen from you promoting it, and you're going to know that everyone else is going to experience potentially, like Fev. He lost heaps of money from gambling, yet he's then going to work for Bet Deluxe.
Yeah.
And saying that, Bet Nation, sorry.
But you'd honestly love to, sit in a room, like, no cameras, anything, and genuinely, like, be like, do you think this is fucked, Fev? Like, do you actually think it's fucked?
He would know it's fucked. He's not stupid. Whether he cares, I'm not sure, but maybe he's full on just oblivious to it, but you can't be. He lived it. He was placing bets, fucking looking at the screen at 3/4 time for his horses if they won or not. Like, that's when you're that bad, you're fucked. So he's going to know what's going to happen if you get involved with gambling. Like, you can't. That's a cop out, in my opinion. You can't not know that.
Yeah, I guess.
Maybe he has turned it around though. Like, maybe he's actually
But
he's thinking, well, if I can do it, then other people can do it, and not sort of considering the consequences of that.
Yeah, but what's his aim of working for Bet Nation?
Well, he's getting paid. He's getting paid for it for sure.
So that's it.
But like, maybe he's thinking, oh well, it's not too bad what I'm doing because I've been able to turn it around. So therefore, encouraging gambling and promoting gambling isn't that bad because the people who do have a problem, well, they can just turn it around themselves because I've been able to do it. So why can't they? Sort of thing.
That's fair. Like, maybe he does think that. But it's also nice as well to see, I know one of our subscribers sent us an article today about some AFL players kind of opting out of being part of sponsorship deals for certain bookies and other... I know I had seen it previously, but it was obviously mentioned in this article as well. Easton Woods has come out like publicly and spoken about how he doesn't want to associate with gambling and isn't massive on the fact that the AFL is so heavily tied into gambling. So it's nice that, like, there are people that see it differently, and we've spoken to a number of AFL players. I don't think we need to mention them, but whoever either subscribed to some of our services or gone through the content or have been really interested in growing out the space of a bit more awareness, and they've spoken to us about how they know that it's pretty rife, even in the AFL industry, where the young blokes that get drafted end up on a couple $100,000 at 18, 19, like, aren't sure what they're doing with their money. It's pretty easy to do what all their mates are still doing. They just have way more money than them, and they end up, punting more than they should. Saw Jaden Stevenson last year, even though it was minuscule amounts, or when he was at Collingwood, betting on his own games and multis and shit like that. Like, that's not even for profit. That just shows how like toxic that culture is. Like,
not just that.
Like, he's just betting with his mates because all his mates do that, and even though he knows he's not allowed to do it, he can't be stopped. Like, that shows the mindset and the culture and how fucked up that is. Like,
I think you just touched on it right there. It's the sporting culture. We've talked about this in other podcasts where it was like, that's just the footy clubs, cricket clubs, sporting culture. You put a bunch of blokes together and they just, like, that's how they all bond together. I don't know whether they've got nothing else to do, but it's toxic and everyone just thinks it's okay to do it together and lose together, and everyone cries together and drinks beers together. So it's like, it just becomes part of the culture, which is something that needs to change.
So if you're saying it shouldn't be part of the culture and it's toxic and everything, like, what's acceptable then? Because obviously there's, like,
well, then it is. Look, I'm not going to go here and be like, you can't gamble and gambling shit house and we need to remove gambling, because it does have a place in our culture. It does have, as much as I hate it to a certain degree because of how bad it can get, there is a place for it. And the Melbourne Cup used to be, although that's losing its sort of pizzazz these days, but the Melbourne Cup was a big sort of memorable childhood memory of mine, going with the family and catching up and having a bit of a bet and doing whatever you pull a name out of the hat, whatever it's called, a sweep. Like, that's all part of Australian culture, and that's great, and that brings people together, and that's social, and that's all fun. But unfortunately, there's no limit. There's no, like, all right, you can do this much, but you, like, once you get to here, then call it quits, because no one's really no one's calling people out about it and, like, educating people that this is where it gets too far. People don't know where the line is, unfortunately, and you never really get taught the line. You look at AFL players and they start punting in the thousands when they're 19, because as Tom said, they've just got a $200,000, $300,000 contract. They start punting, and then they move out of the AFL. They no longer have that income, but they're still punting at super high levels, and they just don't know. There's no messages out there getting told to people that there is a line and you can't cross it, because once you cross it, then it's troubling. But there are, like, the advertising is slowly starting to change a little bit. I saw an ad the other day. There was that new sort of law where the advertising does actually have to change. And I have seen it. Yeah, I saw the first ad the other day and it came up and it was really good. It was the best change that I've seen for the ads in a long time. And at the end of the ad, I don't know who it was. I don't know who was advertising. But at the end, it was just a black screen. And literally like half of the screen says, you'll win some, you'll lose more. And it was very obvious. It was very clear. And that was actually...
those topics. It was like 10.
There was like 6 or 7. Yeah, there was, however many around there. Like every single ad had to end up saying either you win some, you lose more, or can you afford to lose this money, or don't think about how much you could win, think about how much you can lose. And there was like a number of certain things that it has to say. So like that's good, because that's going to start planting seeds in people's minds rather than thinking gamble responsibly. What the fuck does that mean?
Can I ask if it said it or just it wrote it?
I think it just wrote it. I don't think it said it. Yeah, they don't want people hearing it. Yeah.
That unfortunately, that's a load of shit. Then,
it's a small step in the right direction.
But anyone with half a brain would know that if you're watching TV and you don't hear something, it's not as effective as if you hear it.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. Don't quote me on it. I'm not too sure.
I haven't seen it. I don't watch TV, so like.
Yeah.
Maybe if that's the case, that's interesting. But obviously, I haven't seen it, so I don't want to call too.
Yeah, well, the only problem is with half of these like new regulations and advertisement laws and shit that change, like the bookies themselves have a say in what gets put up there. So it's like they're almost writing their own laws about what they can and can't do. So they're always going to be like biased and tailoring it to what suits them best. But that is the industry.
What you said before around like what's the solution? I can kind of, you mentioned education. I think that's where it has to be. Like you said, if you don't have an idea, there's no end. Like there's no line, there's no box that you're going to go out of. Like you're just going to go wherever you want, and you get to 19, 20, you're gambling 1,000 a week. It's a bit hard to go back after that. So I think the best form of changing this culture, I think, is education in a sense of basic fundamental stuff like bankroll, unit sizes, understanding like how you profit and loss, knowing how to fucking track your deposits and losses, like your withdrawals, like simple as that. Not many people would be doing that. All these fundamentals, like name one place where you can learn these.
Yeah.
Can you name one?
No. I think that's one way in which it can be done, like is in teaching people to bet smarter. But the other way in which it can be done, and I think it's better to go down this route if you're going to like go down proper education, is more so like teaching people opportunity cost. So instead of being like, yeah, you can keep betting, but do it with this bankroll, do it with this unit size, bet the same amount every time or whatever it may be. That's one way. Like, right, if you're going to keep betting, that's one way to potentially lose less, which is great. But the other one is if you're dedicating $200, $300, $400 a week to punting, and even if it is within your means, what is that? Like, what's the opportunity cost of doing that? If you save $200 every week for the whole year, that's $10K. So yes, you might be betting within your means, but what the fuck could you have done with the 10K? Like, is it worth the 10K? Even though you're betting responsibly, is it worth it? Is it that fun? You know, would you have rather done 5 weeks in Europe? Maybe I would have. Well, there you go. You have bet responsibly, but what have you given up to be able to do that or have yourself in that position? And I feel like that might be a better way of going about it and a light bulb moment for people as opposed to doing this. Because if you are somebody that bets regularly, even within your means, you're doing it, you're trying to make money, right? It's a thrill of trying to get a collect. Like, what is the thrill though? Like,
it is, but it isn't. I agree with what
I agree with what you're saying a lot, and I'm trying to put myself in someone's shoes who is losing $200, $300 a weekend, and you're just saying, well, don't do it because you have 10 grand at the end of the year. And I agree. You know, there's the thrill of doing it, but I think it also comes down to there's nothing else to do.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's like, oh, well, what the fuck am I going to do on my Saturdays? I'm not going to sit at home and just like, you know, watch the VFL or something. Like, it's like, what would people do to fill the time in that they normally use spending at the pub, drinking beers with their mates where they think they are socializing. But it's like, what's the alternative? There needs something to fill that space for people when all of a sudden they're just like not punting. Like, or, you know, do they do it with a $1 unit size? But we know that's not going to work. Like, that's not an option. So it's like, how do you fill that space?
The other thing is, and this is not fucking promoting our own services, but if you're fucking spending 5 hours on a Saturday punting, learn how to use your fucking accounts and make money every single Saturday. If you're going to waste if 5 hours, if you enjoy on a Saturday, there are lots of people that enjoy on a Saturday watching all the races. I personally can watch races, not bet on them, and I find them fascinating. I like watching, you know, where the good horses go, how the race is run, like, you know, reading the race. I really enjoy watching that. And there will probably heaps of people to do that. But there's also heaps of people that spend all day Saturday punting. If you have that time and you have the resources available to you to be able to do that, why the fuck aren't you doing it properly?
Yeah,
why
legit.
aren't you just making money? We just spoke on it. It's so easy to make money in this game. If you have 5 hours on a Saturday, learn how to turn a bonus bet over, learn how to use the promotions to your advantage, and go and take the fucking piss. Do it every Saturday, but make fucking money.
I can guarantee as well you'll have more fun. And
Way
we
more
can all
fun.
say this because we've done that.
We've got butterflies in our stomach Friday night. Go to bed.
But we're all getting back into the
Saturday's
match
fucking
betting
Christmas
space again, I think. Well, you already are the last couple of months you've been working with the...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
fourth guy
It's
that's gonna
mind-blowing
be
to me how people aren't making money, and it's so easy. And I hadn't done match betting stuff properly in quite a while, and now there's like 40 new bookies that I've never opened up in my life.
Yeah.
It's a fucking piss take.
I reckon there'd be 70 that I haven't made.
There's so many bookies that
the bookies
are giving away bonuses, giving away all these opportunities to make money. They're doing cash back. They're doing fourth, fifth. You know, even if you bet in this race and it doesn't win, Neds have some tool where it's like if you bet on the horse, as long as it doesn't run second or third, you get your cash back.
Yeah, that's an interesting
Like
one.
there's just so many ways in which you can tweak around, play around with things, use them against each other.
Yeah.
You should. If you're betting consistently every single Saturday and that's your hobby or the thing that you like to do, you're not doing it in a social environment, you're at home, you should be cashing in.
Making money from
no-brainer.
Yeah.
So we've kind of spoken about, people, if they're still listening to this or they've seen clips of this or whatever, they're like, oh, fuck these guys. All they do is talk about betting. All they do is talk about business. All these blokes, they're fucking robots. They're fucking squares. We touched on it a little bit at the start. JP is a bit of a square compared to Steve, obviously.
What's a square?
Myself, I'm probably fall in the middle of both of you.
What's a square, but I could argue that a square is something else.
What do you mean?
Just different. Like squares, like...
More so in a sense that you don't live the life that a lot of other people live, which is not a bad thing. But like you're not gonna have a beer, you're not gonna let your hair down.
But hang on,
it's from a different
could be
perspective.
someone who literally does
It's by the
everything
book.
by the
Technically,
rules.
it's by the book, but you technically don't do a lot by the book
Exactly,
as well.
that's
So
my point about not being a square. So
yeah, I think Tom's more referencing you haven't had a beer in how long?
I didn't like beer.
Yeah. Just
Well, it
cease.
just-
Never
I-
taken a drug, never smoked, all that shit. But
Yeah.
that's what he's referring to.
Yeah, I
Just
don't.
don't go
I
out.
think for like 99% of people, they'd probably like look at your life and be like, what does this cunt do?
Yeah, but how
in
do
his
they know what I
time?
do? Fucking buy
Well, I don't know what you do, so like, are they not going to know? But what
Feed
did
guinea
you?
pigs.
Okay, maybe this isn't very squaring, but you fucking climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and I would personally love to hear, a 3 or 5 minute recap on what you did. Like, not many people go to fucking Africa for a holiday, or go to climb Mount Kilimanjaro or Tanzania, I think you went to. So do you want to give us a rundown of, why the fuck you went there, what it was like, and, give us a 10-minute synopsis of your month away.
Well,
I'm sure people would want to know what you did.
Okay. So, me and my girlfriend, Laura, we were just watching Netflix. There's a Netflix doco called Aftershock, which is explaining the Everest earthquake, I think in 2014 or 15, which fucked up base camp and killed 15 people or so, and also fucked up a lot of Nepal and Kathmandu and all that. So we kind of got the idea that we were going to climb Everest one day, randomly from that Netflix doco.
The whole Everest.
Like actual
peak?
Everest, yeah. You
Righto.
can laugh all you want, but...
Oh, it's actually not that hard apparently these days, but it's
Well,
fucking
tell
expensive.
him that and he fully disagrees.
No, apparently you can
It's
go on
never been easier.
expeditions where they just take up
100%.
60-year-olds up there these days.
Yeah, well, you need a lot of training, and part of that training comes from climbing lower mountains at altitude, which is what Kilimanjaro is. So Tom thinks I'm an idiot for saying that Everest has never been easy.
No, it's never been easy. That's a fact. Yeah.
But it's obviously still very much a fucking very hard thing to do, and we're not planning it in the next 2 years or whatever. But it is a goal that I've just pulled out there, and it had to start from going to Africa. So within 3 weeks,
Can I ask a question?
Go.
Why Everest?
I don't know, it's
Because
interesting.
it's fucking JP.
Just because it's but I've never understood it. It's cool. But it's just a mountain. I've never understood the idea of
So
why people
what
are
do
so
you like?
obsessed. Oh, I'd rather snowboard down the mountain.
Yeah,
That's
why?
fun.
It's
a thrill.
yeah.
I'd never get it. My dad loves
would argue
Nepal. He's
that-
been there a million times, but I just don't see the thrill of walking and putting yourself through torture for 14 hours a day through tough conditions. I
Yeah.
just never understand it.
Well,
I get
think
it. There's scenery and there's an
ego,
adventure
to be honest.
and shit. Yeah.
Most people who climb Everest would be for ego, I'd say. To say they've climbed Everest is it's an achievement. Ego, call it like
Yeah, no, that's
proud.
fine. You set yourself a challenge. You want to achieve it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well,
But yeah,
it's for my, like, when I say ego, it would be more for myself though.
Of
It's
course.
not for fucking, oh yeah, cool, I'm the best, I climbed Everest. Like,
yeah.
the
It's like
point, but
people wake up, they're just like, I want to do a marathon. Like, why? It's
Yeah.
like, I want to run a marathon. I want to see if I can do it. Push
Yeah.
yourself. I get that, yeah.
but we're miles off that. Like, we've just literally said we're going to climb Everest one day. But to be honest, if you do like hikes and you get to altitude and you react well to altitude, you get the experience. It's actually
It's super
not
expensive,
that
you know
hard
that.
in the sense of like it's not impossible.
No. No.
So we watched a few more docos. We
Yeah.
booked. We went to Kili, and we kind of settled in. My bag didn't arrive for 2 days. So first mountain, there's something called Mount Meru, which is the sister mountain of Kilimanjaro, 4,655 meters. We were told, or we did some research, that was supposed to be a warm-up hike, get you a little bit acclimatized to altitude. Did that, had to hire gear because my bag was not coming and we couldn't delay the trip. We delayed 1 day and we couldn't delay anymore. It's supposed to be a break between Kili and Meru. Climbed that. That was, I promise you, I spoke about this in the last podcast with Kiro. I was fucked. Like, got to 4,200 meters, 300 from the summit. It was like 3 a.m. because you leave at like 12 at night. So you leave at midnight.
See you there for sunrise.
Sunrise, correct. So it's about 5.5 hours up from the last camp, and that's Saddle Hut, which is like 3-4, and then 1,200 over.
How many days has this been?
So this is
from sea level
so
to
Mount
4,000?
Meru.
Yeah.
Mount Meru's 3 days up and down, so it's very
Quick.
up. It's quick.
So you've got no acclimatization at all.
So you start at
Because 4,000 is not that high, right? Like, but if
you'll feel altitude from like 3 to 3.5.
But like, it's not bad if you've been at that altitude for a little while.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty standard. But you've just
Yeah.
gone straight from sea level to 4,000, basically.
Yeah. So, well, I think don't quote me, but where we're staying, I think it'd be like 1,000.
Okay, yeah, but it's
zero,
not.
But
yeah.
1,000 to 0 is the same thing. So, yeah, we get there. We climb the first day. We get to like 2.6, and then the next day you get to 3.4, and then that night you go to the summit. Like, you don't wait another day.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, so that there, like probably 3 a.m. I started getting dizzy, headache, and falling asleep while walking. So like, and this is pitch black. So like I was walking and like I missed a step. And you got your 2 guides with you. You've got a team of porters, which I'll talk about in a sec. But the guides are the most important in the sense of they'll direct you. They'll make sure they check on you, make sure you're good. You're not going to fucking fall off the mountain because Meru is quite dangerous. It's like very much a mountain where you can not fall off, but there's like shit where if you roll down, you're fucked. And when you're at night, you've got a headlamp, you don't really see what's either side, you just see what's in front. So there was a step I missed, and then I heard the guide like ask me if I was all right, and I kind of just lied and said I was fine. Then I had to stop, get some food in, wake myself up a bit, and it's like freezing cold. It's like probably just in the negatives, not too cold, windy, got your gloves on, whatever, and then I kind of fought through and got to the summit. But funnily enough, the sun comes up and I felt 10 times better. Apparently they're supposed to give you energy, but whether that's scientific, I'm not sure. But I think it does. Like, anyway, so climbed that. That was fucking awesome. The views there were sick. I can put some videos up on the screen or screenshots, whatever. Then the next day, so we went back down to 2.6 and then back to the hotel for the night. Ordered like fucking 5 main meals to the room service and just hammered those for the night. Because obviously eating on the mountain, your team cooks for you, carries all your big bags, you got your day pack, you put your water and stuff in there, you got all your wet gear in case it rains, whatever, you carry that with you. But everything else that you sleep in, sleeping bag, clothes, everything, and other shoes and stuff, is carried by the porters during the day. They climb up and down with your stuff. As well as all the tents, as well as, this is for Kili, there was no tents in Meru, as well as all the food, all the cooking equipment. So like,
they do multiple trips?
No, so there were 4, 5,
Oh, okay. There's
6
multiple
porters on Meru and 10 team on Kili for 2 people. So on Kilimanjaro it was 8 days. You climb, like, it's pretty chill in terms of the hiking for Kilimanjaro. Each day you're hiking between 3 and 5 hours, but it's not difficult because we chose the 8 day. You can do it in 5, but you probably will have issues with altitude if you do it in 5. We went ultra safe and did it 8. So on the 6th night, you summit. So we got to 4,600 meters, which is the Barafa camp, which is essentially the base camp. We left because they kind of know, right? They know how fast you are, how slow you are based on hiking with you. These guys live on the mountain essentially. They're hiking fucking for 6 months straight. They know everything. So they knew we were kind of a little bit of a faster crew, comparing us to like maybe an 80-year-old lady who's fucking hiking, or a 70-year-old lady, or a 50-year-old.
Well, you're two like late 20s, 23s, young, healthy. Yeah.
So we knew we had to leave at approximately like 1 a.m. for summit night on Kili, and people were leaving at 11, and we were passing them like almost up the top of the mountain.
Elbows out, giving them cheapies on the way.
Like people are literally crawling
Tripping
in a
them
sense of like, it's very slow steps. Like it's just a grind the whole way. You get into rhythm with your sticks, and if you need to take a shit or something on the way up, you just got to offload. So that's something that was quite interesting.
Offload.
I'll talk about that, but like the toilets there are non-existent. They're just holes in the ground. So like it's...
What sort of terrain are you hiking on?
It varies. It's volcanic mountains. So it's rocky. There's a lot of vegetation below, don't quote me, probably 3,500.
Yeah, there's like that alpine region where it can't grow anymore. Yeah,
and then you got like alpine desert where it starts to become like shorter trees, and the trees get shorter as altitude goes because obviously
they can't grow. Yeah,
and then you get to a point where there's nothing. It's just literally ravens, so crows, sort of. You've got mice which don't go above I think 4,500, and then humans. That's it. So Kili got to the top. That was I would say it's easier than Meru, but it's 5,895. So almost 6,000 meters. Got to the top of that. I guess for me, it was just awesome to see, I don't know, like life at that level. And also it was awesome to climb those two mountains. But for me, what I got out of it was just seeing like the porters. And I don't like calling them porters. We like calling them Kili fighters, as they like to call them over there. But they literally dedicate their life. That's a job, but like they're dedicating their whole, like that's all they're doing to get you up the mountain. So they're carrying your shit, they're cooking for you, they're making sure you got warm clothes, they'll give you washing water when you finish the hike every day. Like they'll clean your dishes, they'll make sure the table's set when you eat.
Sounds like you've done this in luxury, eh?
No, but this sounds all luxurious, but no, it's just like a tent.
Yeah,
they got to carry the tent you eat in. You can't just eat. We're gonna eat like.
I'm assuming they're setting it up.
The
and
tent
stuff.
you're eating.
No, what?
You just said they carry the tent you're eating.
You're eating in.
Oh, eating in.
Yeah, so you sleep in a tent, and then you've got the tent that actually you eat your food in, and then they've got their tent that they sleep in. So like, there's like 10 of them. They got to sleep fucking next to each other. So all this shit's got to get carried, right? They do a food run on day 6 because food goes off. So on day 7 and 8, I think, or even day 6, you get fresh food. So. And you're getting 3 meals a day, and these aren't like buffet meals, but like they're good quality. Like you get chicken, you get fucking porridge, and you'll be overfed. Like it's impossible to finish the food. And towards the end of it, we realized that they were eating tea and toast. That's the porters eat tea and toast. That's it. And like towards the end of it, like we were giving our breakfast and lunch to them, like because we were like, fuck it, where does this go if we don't eat it? Like we eat it. I'm like, fuck. If I'm not going to fill myself, like I was fine, we were both fine, we were struggling to eat everything. So we're like, here you go, have this. They fucking see a piece of watermelon and they fucking love it. So it's like, it was sick. Overall, like seeing African culture completely different to Australia. I know I spoke about this on the other one, but just to touch on, I think in Western culture, we're very much, at the couch place the other day, we're very complex in a sense of like, we've got so much else going on, social media, mortgages, TV, all this shit that just like takes the focus away from potentially what's more important, which is family survival, essentially. Like we take survival for granted, I think. Like, for example, we lose our Instagram, it's the end of the world, and people in Africa fucking don't have food to survive, or they have $10 a week to live or something. Like, compare the problems there, and it's just laughable to actually think that we have problems over here in Western culture. And that's not to say that people aren't suffering from real shit over here, but it's when your life's simple, and when you only have to worry about you getting enough food, you getting enough water, and fuck, what else? Working and making money to feed your family. Like, everything becomes so much simpler when you're not listening to the TV, radio, everything. It's just very much like you're very, what's the word? I guess more, you just see things a little bit clearer, I think. We get fucking...
You're distracted a lot more here.
Corrupted and like...
It's good for business.
Your focus away from... Like, no one has a smartphone, for example. Like, imagine what life would be here without a smartphone.
Yeah.
Like, it'd be completely different. And we're just, over the last 10 years, without even knowing it, we've just transitioned into basically cyborgs essentially. Like we rely on electronics, and I'm a massive fucking culprit of it.
But you have to. I mean, you look at
That's the thing.
Look at us right now. We've got like
This is
60
all
pieces of
happening.
electronics in front of us right
Yeah.
now. And that's just the way you have to. Like, to live a social life now, to live a connected social life, you have to be on Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and WhatsApp and Telegram and iMessage and have 50 different ways to connect with your friends. But they're saying these days that, like, in terms of like mental health and well-being, like, we're the most disconnected
100% we
like
are.
rate or part of our race that we've ever been, even though we're supposed to be the most connected. But it's like they've made us reliant on all this technology. But it's great that it'd be really fascinating to live in that sort of world.
Like, if you have the opportunity, go to places where this is like not the first time I've seen this kind of stuff, but it was the most time I've spent in it and actually immerse myself in like getting to know these people. And I was almost like crying leaving these people. I'd seen them for 2 weeks. Like, I took them all out for fucking lunch on the last day, and they took the piss. They were ordering fucking drinks out their ass. Like, they had like 8 rounds of drinks or whatever. Yeah. They heard the bill was coming. They went again. It was fucking funny. And
JP's credit card? Yeah.
Well,
Tap
like,
it away.
no, we owed it to them. Like, they did that for us. And it was elite. And I'm still in contact with them. Like, we tipped them really well because they appreciate it. Like, and I spoke about this in the blog that I made. I've realized, and I think Kiro, the reason why he lives overseas in Ethiopia, a lot of you boys probably don't understand it, but he enjoys just helping people. Like, we get it because we help people. And how good does it feel when someone says, "Hey, man, you changed my life"? Like, that same feeling I want to keep, like, I guess, honing in on and helping more and more people, because for me, that makes me happier. And I get so much satisfaction out of that. And for example, tipping them, giving someone 200 USD for them is like fucking $5,000.
Yeah.
Like, it would be the equivalent of. And it's like, they're the best. Like, they're over the moon over it. And it's like, if I can help someone and feel good about themselves and help their life, then fuck, that makes me feel better. So I guess in summary, awesome experience to climb the mountains, but what I got more out of it was just seeing the culture and I guess seeing how lucky we are, and now being a bit more grateful, even though I probably was, but even more grateful of like how easy we have it over here.
Yeah. I definitely, to somewhat sort of move on to a certain degree, but definitely keeping on topic of all the sort of third world countries I've visited a couple, mainly Fiji actually is one that really comes to mind that I relate to with this story, is that they're very poor over there. They're basically, their whole economy runs off tourism. I'd hate to know what they're looking like now after COVID, because basically there's been no not white people, but tourists, basically. That's what they call over there. They'll call you white people, not being racist. But they wouldn't be any. But over there, they're some of the happiest people, the most welcoming people, and the most giving people that I've ever seen. It's honestly incredible to see, and it's like they're working for $2 a day over there in these nice, luxurious resorts and stuff like that. But they're just so happy, and like they're just so grateful for what they've got. Like they might have a boat, like a little tinny or something that you see, you go down to the harbour and you wouldn't dare see a tinny down at the Port Melbourne Harbour, because it's a piece of shit according to, our standards. But over there, they'll have a little tinny that they go and take kids on, or they do some tours on, or they go and do their fishing, and they're just so proud of it. Like they're just so proud of their one. It's so simple. They're so grateful for it. They're so welcoming. They've got so little, but they're so willing to 100%. Share so much of what they've got as well. Yeah. And it's just incredible. You come over to you come back to Melbourne. It's so fast paced. Everyone's scrambled around, looking at their smartphones, going mental, and like everyone just looks depressed.
Everyone's just stressed off their head, man. Like it's so complex. Like whereas you summed it up like very quickly and better. Like it's so like survival, happy for their family, proud of their family. That's it. Yeah. Like that's
keep
all
it simple. Yeah.
And they don't need 400,000 in their bank account to be happy and feel safe that if they don't earn income for the next 20 years, they're going to survive. It's just like a bit more simple than that. And also, sorry, I forgot to mention the company that I traveled with. I'd like to give them a shout out. If you're going to Kilimanjaro and you want to hike it, go with Ascend Tanzania. They were literally amazing. So yeah. Anyone wants to hike. Nice.
So obviously, like a bit of contrast to JP's trip. I know, Steve, you went to a data analytics conference in Toronto, and then you also did a bit of research for us at the NHL. But apart from that, what else did you get up to when you were in Canada for a few weeks?
A bit of a different. Let's say time compared to JP. I was up and down mountains, but there was a lot more snow on the mountains over there, so it was a bit more adrenaline seeking, I suppose, for me. I was just there snowboarding for a few weeks, a couple of weeks in Whistler, a week in Banff. Pretty crazy time. There was a lot of fun there. There was a couple of beers.
Had a few beers with some subs.
Yeah, there was a couple of subs out there as well. Hogues, shout out to Hogues and shout out to Bailey as well. Ran into a couple of subs in a couple of the nightclubs of Whistler, and that was awesome. It was actually a really cool experience, to be honest, of having people come up to you in the street, because it's really funny. You never get haters come up to you in the street, but you do often, well, not often, but every now and again, and it's become more regular of people coming up and being like, love your work, awesome stuff, keep it up. Like, you've actually helped me become a better gambler. You've made me money. And a couple of these guys, one of them, I think it was Hogues, he was like, yeah, you've actually funded this trip to Canada, like, as in the system had funded that trip.
How does that make you feel?
It's fucking awesome, isn't it?
That's exactly what I mean. Like,
yeah, it's really motivating, and it's cool to know that, like, obviously we know that, the benefits that match betting and taking some money off the bookies has had on our lives. So be able to pass that information on to people, and for them to actually do it, and then come full circle and people bounce back those or give back that feedback. It's actually pretty cool. So that was a very good time. Came back alive, which was good. I was a little bit nervous. It's pretty dangerous, like, funnily enough, like, particularly Whistler. Whistler's like, I think it's the biggest ski resort in the Northern Hemisphere. It's massive, absolutely huge. 2 massive mountains. There's 2 mountains, Whistler and Blackcomb. That's why it's called Whistler Blackcomb. And each mountain, I was there for 2 weeks, would have snowboarded probably 11 days total over those 2 weeks across those mountains, and I wouldn't have done every part of the mountain. Still didn't have time to do it because it's just simply massive, like, simply huge. But with that comes a lot of people. I think, like, on the mountain, there's like 50,000 people that stay in the village, which is just at the bottom of the mountain, or the mountains. And so it's pretty sketchy, because, like, you're going quick, and a lot can go wrong, really. And you can be the best skier or snowboarder, but you've also got to remember that there's thousands of other people around you flying down as well, and it can be a little bit dangerous, and it is a little bit eye-opening in that sense. I accidentally had a bit of an accident, and I slid tackled a couple of, like, 7-8-year-olds, which was really bad. It was actually, like, seriously concerning at the time. I just fully lost control. So that was a bit of a wake-up call for myself to literally, like, rein it in.
We've got some good footage of you that we'll put on the YouTube, so that people that are watching it might even upload it on the socials. Yeah, let them see it. But no, it was a really good time. I think it was good after particularly sort of the last couple of years where we've all worked pretty hard to sort of set the companies up and set the system and the Hussla Squad up. It was good to sort of just forget about it and actually just live a little bit. I think, I guess you can easily get caught up, sort of what you were saying before. You can easily get caught up in this need to grow and get better and improve and get more assets and earn more money and fucking lift heavier and do more and all this shit that, we've basically been brainwashed, I think, to a certain degree to do.
This guy's saying it.
No, like, I genuinely, like, we are, like, everyone wants to be better
100%.
and, like, everyone wants more, like, accumulating assets.
Correct.
Like, it's literally everyone just wants to accumulate assets. Yeah. And so it was good to just be like, fuck this, and just literally just for 3 weeks just do whatever I wanted, just live in the moment. And so that was a lot of fun. Definitely a couple of lessons that I took out of the trip. It's always good traveling. You meet a bunch of people, and you do sort of, without sounding too cheesy, you do learn a bit about yourself, and you put yourself in sort of some high stressful environments or some fun environments, and you never know how you're going to react to a couple of things. One little story, which was a good sort of lesson I took from the trip. So my snowboard bag got lost on the way over there. It got lost in a transit flight from Air Canada. Yeah, well, it just never arrived. I just don't know what happened to it. So I rocked up in Whistler, and I didn't have my snowboard bag. I was like, this is fucking great, isn't it? So I had to hire all my gear for the first 5-6 days. What was that?
First world problem.
Yeah, but literally, mate, this is the point of where I'm getting to. Like, this is literally the point. Is like, I lost my snowboard bag. I was cracking the shits a bit, but I was like, whatever. I hired gear for 5-6 days. Still, my bag hadn't arrived. They said it was going to deliver it to me. Didn't arrive anyway. On the 7th day, I was like, fuck this. So I just bought a whole new kit because it was going to be cheaper to buy a new kit than hire for every day.
Put that on the company.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I needed that for the that for the seminar. So
Here we go.
Anyway, day one with my brand new board, I've put it down at the bottom of the mountain. I've gone to like get something to eat after the morning, and I've come back and my board's not there.
Bullshit.
And the exact same board, but a larger size that didn't fit me was in the spot. So I thought someone had like swapped the boards around and they've taken my board and swapped it with their board because they didn't like the size. This is just where I went. Weirdly, I was pissed off. I was probably hungover. Anyway, I've just cracked the shit. I was fucking so fed up. I was like, fuck this. First, my bag goes missing. Then I've got to rent all this shit. I'm out of pocket a stack. And now my board's been fucking stolen after one morning of having it. And I just cracked the shits. I was with my mate and then another guy that we met. And like, they handled me so well because I just was not a pleasant person to be around for the next couple of hours. I haven't
seen that before.
I just had a big sook, really. It was, yeah, you guys would know. I wear my heart on my sleeve sometime. But anyway, I had a big sook. Anyway, I've taken this guy's board. Actually, I realised that it wasn't my board halfway up the mountain. I'd grabbed the other guy's board thinking that it was my board because it was in the same spot. I've then gone down the mountain with someone else's board. I'm thinking someone stole my board. I've gotten there, my board's just sitting there. So I've just had a mare and stolen someone else's board.
So it was there the whole time?
It was there the whole time, and there was just both of our boards got put in the same spot, and I accidentally grabbed his. So anyway, I've had a big sook about it just like on the way up, and I've realised, I've just had a fucking mare. I've gotten my board back, and I sort of then just had like a real reflective. Actually, weed's really legal in Canada, and I got pretty high. Actually, I was speaking to you that night.
They are so good.
Yeah, I had a couple of gummies that night. Completely legal in Canada. They just deliver it to your doorstep, and I was
Which we love.
Yeah, I was just reflecting a bit on it all, and I was like, fuck, this is a real first world problem, isn't it? Like, I've just cracked the shits and had a real sook that, like, I'm in Whistler, I've had my board stolen. It's like, it's not the end of the world, just like get over it. So I was a bit of like, things are never quite as bad as you think they're going to be. And also on the flip, things are never like as great as potentially they're going to be as well. So it was a good little lesson, sort of keep things mellowed out a little bit and don't overreact and don't get too emotional, which is things and messages that we love here at the system as well. So good trip. Loved it. Definitely will try and go back to Canada and live there.
Live there?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, right.
It's a beautiful country. There, it's absolutely beautiful.
Match betting landscape's growing in Canada, so
the gambling landscape's growing too. Every person was
say.
putting parlays on over there.
Yeah.
That was the research I got. So
Nice.
You bring your hustler card?
did I bring my hustler card?
Yeah, for the USA.
What are the racing promos looking like over
No,
there?
they're
Yeah, I don't know about those ones yet. I didn't take any hustler over there because I'm not an employee of the hustler squad. So
You
Not
work for free.
incentivized to do it.
yeah, I wouldn't be doing that. Yeah. Not yet.
You wouldn't be doing it yet.
But I guess, so we've spoken about a fair bit today, which has been awesome. I think we'll save what's coming up next for the next podcast, I would think. Don't know if you guys want to touch on anything more. We've been going for about an hour and a half now. It's been a pretty fucking interesting listen, to be honest. Some of the stuff.
I want to know what you did when we were away, because you ran both companies
What I did
by yourself.
I just collected units.
Cleaned up Steve.
Unit collector.
Ask the subs, they love it. Nah, it was
I did leave you
all
on a
on
bomb.
It was a good.
Good luck, Tom. Negative 16. Good luck.
Yeah, that's what for all those that are listening. System subs that have been with us for a while. Obviously, December was not ideal. I think we made like 9 units or 12 units or something. But
7 maybe.
yeah, obviously one of the tipping days, Christmas Eve.
Christmas
I
Eve.
think we had a mare,
Minus 12.
and that was like
It was my last tipping day.
Yeah, and Steve wrote in the group like,
Good luck.
literally like wrote in our message group. He's like, "All right, fuck this. Good luck, Tom." And then like I didn't hear from him for a few days. He'd gone overseas, but no, it was pretty good. I mean, obviously, massive shout out to our probably our numero uno on customer service, Justin. He was a massive help for me during that period. Kim and Max were also really good. We did get quite a few subscribers through that period. I thought we were going to dip down massively. I was so worried the whole time that you guys were going to get back and we are going to have like 430 subs, 440 subs. Yeah, it's not like the cameras keep working, fuckhead.
That one has turned off, actually.
No, that's a wide. That's one.
But
okay.
yeah, so like that was it's pretty full on. Obviously, you can ask Charlotte. Like I was pretty stressed the whole time, like hoping that we'd get new subscribers, hoping the results would be good. Obviously, Hustler as well. Like I was speaking to Kiro a fair bit, but managed to, like I think it was like 21 platinums while JP was away. So I was like, that's all right. Like, at least that's paid for a tenth of his
Yeah.
trip up the mountain. There's a few tips for the porters or the Killy warriors, but no, it was Killy fighters. Sorry, but no, all in all, it was like it's a lot easier when we were talking about what's the benefit of merging when there's 3 of us working and moving in the same direction. It's a whole lot easier than fucking 2 of us or 1 of us. I don't really know how JP's done all the hustler stuff on his own for a large portion of the last 2.5 years. I can imagine how stressful that would be, and that was definitely something I learned. Like, the Discord doesn't stop. There's DMs non-stop. There's people, like, I was logged into his personal Telegram, and like people always have fucking questions. Like, it's just non-stop, and I guess that's us also learning as well. We're getting better at prioritizing. We're like, cool, like, let's dedicate time to work, and then let's dedicate time to, spending time with our missus or with our friends or doing other shit. And I think sometimes we get really bad at just getting caught up in just working. And I felt that a little bit while you guys were away. But no, apart from that, I feel like we're definitely on the right track. And what we've set up now is pretty the companies are pretty self-sufficient. Like, they can keep rolling over. Whether or not they grow without us, I'm not sure. But yeah, we've put in place, like, really good education, really good customer service set up. People have access to our content and to ourselves basically 24/7. Like, there's never been more support, and it all basically runs like clockwork now, which is awesome. And I guess, like, going forward, I was keen for you guys to get back so we could launch into the office, launch these new products, launch some new services, and just like get way fucking bigger. Like, hopefully we've got 800 subscribers at the end of the year, and 1,000 Platinum Squad members, and like, we're just waking up more and more individuals who do want to spend their Saturdays making money as opposed to doing other things, or even not even just making money, just fucking waking up and realizing how dumb some of their punting habits are, and if they sharpen them up, what they can be doing. As you said, you spoke to 2 subscribers in Canada who had funded their trip through following the system or through match betting. There'd probably be thousands of people that, if they stopped punting, could have been on that mountain with you as well. And maybe that's because they saw you talk about how dumb gambling is. Like, that's the other thing that I'm excited to do, just to have more people realize that even if they don't buy anything or subscribe or ever do match betting, they read JP's blog, or they go through one of our videos, or they see us rinsing sports bet, and they're like, fuck, I am a victim of this. I am doing this. I am doing that. They listen to a podcast, and then they just change their gambling habits. And if that helps, I think we can reach tens of, if not hundreds of thousands of people over the next, 2 to 3 years, especially with our office and our team and our content. And I was just fucking so keen for you guys to get back so we could start doing that. So I guess that's what's planned going forward. If you take anything out of this podcast, I think, obviously it's, we've got a little bit sentimental, a bit deep, but like, cherish what you have, enjoy what you have. We're really, really lucky. If you're listening to this, obviously, like, you got spare time to fucking listen to a podcast, so you must be doing all right. Probably listening to it on your smartphone. We're in really privileged positions, and fucking, make the most of what the fuck you're doing. Don't waste every fucking Saturday gambling, and waste your money gambling. Like, go and do some fucking productive shit. And if you listen to this whole podcast and you aren't making money betting in the next 6 months, like, you dead set, you've got fucking rocks in your head, because it's so easy. No, I'm being serious. Like, if you get to here and you keep punting and losing on the punt, like, fucking stupid.
If you're not making money in a sense of doing it, but if you're wanting to stop gambling altogether, then that's making money. It's the same thing. People tell us off because they think if someone's losing 10K a year and they've not lost 10K a year, they haven't made any money. Well,
made 10K.
They've made 10K.
It's a free
net.
Canada trip every year.
Legit. So that's essentially making money too. I don't know if you have anything to say, but I'm going to spontaneously launch a little competition here that you guys won't be happy with.
Good.
Go for it.
But we're going to do a little bit of a new one just to help people learn and obviously get a little bit more engagement on our YouTube if you're watching this on YouTube.
How much money are you going to give away right now?
No money.
Oh, okay.
Give away knowledge.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'll give away a Platinum Squad membership to the best comment in the YouTube. Essentially, it can be anything but a question. Probably go with a question, actually. If you want to ask a question in the YouTube comments, ask it. Best question will get a Platinum Squad membership, and the second best question will get a yearly subscription to the system. So go away, write fucking 100 questions if you want. But I just want to see a lot more random people engaging. Obviously, it's going to have to be 2 non-members for Platinum, but it can be for a member for the system. So if you have a question about anything, and we'll decide what the best one is. If you want to make it about betting, should we make it about betting or just anything?
I don't know. You're making the competition.
We'll keep the topic about what was in this podcast. So don't go and ask about fucking, I don't know, what you think who's going to win the AFL this year. Like, let's talk about what was in the podcast. Huh?
Baggers.
Yeah, not sure. But I like the Blues. But no, in all seriousness, best comment wins a platinum. Second best comment wins a yearly system sub. So go for it, subscribe, and if you have any questions about anything we do, send us a DM on Instagram.
Shout out to Nick from Freedom Furniture.
Oh, yes.
And who was the other guy?
Fuck. I don't know his name, but he'll know who he is from Nick Scarley.
From Nick Scarley, the salesman there.
Richmond on Church Street.
Yeah.
He
and to Shy Bolton, we walked past him the other day as well.
Shy Bolton, yeah.
If you're listening, Shy.
And to the...
if you're listening...
You can probably do with some punting.
What else we
tips,
got? Coco Republic for trying to rip us off.
Oh, yeah, the couch.
Couches.
29.5 grand. If you're buying a couch that costs 29.5 grand, you've also got rocks in your head. That's fucked.
Well, it's all relative.
Unless you pay for it with your match betting profit.
I saw a guy
That's correct.
last year drop a crane on a Lamborghini, 250k. Like a drop.
Is that Russian YouTuber dude? Yeah.
That's fucked.
That makes me sick to see, doesn't it? Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up. Fucking,
What's the discount code?
we've gone AWOL.
Discount code?
Killy.
Insta 10.
Nah, Killy 10.
Killy.
Killy 10.
How do you spell that?
Killi.
What about Africa 10?
10. All right, Africa 10.
Easy to spell. Or Ski 10.
Gummies 10.
Sorry, not ski.
THC 10.
THC. What's the board that you used?
No.
Africa
Africa 10.
Whoopee
Like,
10.
we just wasted a minute of everyone's time. Africa 10. Call it a day.
All right.
Good luck.
See you next
See you in the office.
Nah, this will be the last podcast you see in this shit room. We're
Yeah.
done.
So see you
Get
in
in
the
the
office.
office.
Fuck.
See you in there.
Ciao.
Bye.
Fuck me. Steve was 38 beers deep on another mountain, snowboarding down the side of it.
Taking our kids.
Sent off a fuck, nailing little kids. Not
Two of
nailing.
them.
No,
Nailing their knees.
Yeah, kneecapping him.
I didn't
slide
taking
tackling
them
him.
out on the hill.
Clap.
Who's starting?
It doesn't matter. Just clap. They can
And we're back for the system episode. I don't know what episode we're up to.
start.
Oh, it can be.
I don't know. What are we doing? Double. What's happening to that cunt?
Hey, lads.
He was in.
The Bears. And the Bears.